If you've watched any of those videos of 20 tips and tricks to save more money, or 50 saving hacks, or how I saved $10,000 in 1 year, those types of videos, it boils down to two things when it comes to saving. You're either increasing your revenue streams or your income, or you're decreasing your expenses, your expenditure, or you're doing a combination of the two. And none of this is easy or straightforward, because cutting down on expenses, there's only so much you can do to a place where you still have a decent standard of living, because the cost of living is high with inflation, with just the prices of our day-to-day things. So just like the three pillars, like your rent, your food, and your transport, that alone can take such a huge portion of your income. More often than not, cutting down on expenses alone won't do it in terms of increasing your savings. And so that's where increasing your income or your revenue streams has to come in. And that is not an easy thing to do, because it is essentially taking on a new or an extra job, a side hustle, freelancing gig, or creating something, a business. So both of them are not easy, but there are definitely many videos that have more tips and tricks on that you can check out. But this video is not about how to save more, but just how to approach saving in general, at least from my point of view. I think for me, saving money is not a destination. I think often we're just taught like it's just good to save money, and definitely when you're starting out, getting into the habit, the practice of saving is really, really important. It's a discipline, and it's a muscle you train, you can say. But I think that beyond just saving, it's really important to have targeted saving, to save with a goal in mind. That way you are not ambiguous about your saving, because I found that when I am ambiguous about my saving, I'm more likely to steal from my future self, because there's no clarity on what these savings are for. So I think when it comes to becoming more targeted with saving, or more specific, I just start by asking myself, what am I saving for? It's such an obvious but a straightforward, and I think it's the first step when you come to thinking about saving. Why are you saving? Are you saving for a trip, to start a business? Is it for an emergency? Is it for education, to make a big purchase like a car or a house? Is it for retirement? So after I have asked myself what I'm saving for, I go beyond that and just sit down with why it is that I want said thing, and make a list of the pros and cons, the risks or the benefits, because sometimes, especially when you're saving for investment opportunities, you want to really decide, or making big purchases like a car or a home, you want to really sit down and ask yourself, what is the benefit of this purchase, and what are the risks attached to spending this money? So I think that after asking yourself what you want, the next question is, why do you want it? So number 3 would be, what is the cost of saving for this thing? And obviously it varies depending on what you are saving for. But let's go with an example of a car. So I would like to buy a car because of, you list out the benefits, and it will cost me 500,000 or 1 million Kenya shillings. And so you have a figure in mind, and it has to be as specific as possible. Even if it's an investment opportunity, like you want to open a money market fund, how much are you looking at setting aside on a monthly basis, or are you putting savings together for a couple of months before you open the account and then you put in a lump sum? Like, be as clear and intentional with the saving as possible. Step number 4 is to set up a sinking fund for this savings. You know what you want, why you want it, how much it costs. I feel like the best thing when you're saving towards a particular goal is to have a specific place where that money goes. So if that means that it goes into your Emma Kiba account, or it goes to a separate money market fund, a different bank account, or you save it in a different currency, whatever it takes to just make sure that there is a clear difference between this savings or for this specific thing and the rest of your money. So my hope at this point is that there is a budget in place, and I have a whole video on budgeting, and so you have an idea of your general expenditure and maybe how much is left over, so that you can also be realistic about how much you can save. I think often this is a point where people get discouraged about saving, because if you go back to the car example, if the car you want to buy is 500,000 and you look at your budget and what's left over is 2k a month that you can save, you will not be able to buy that car realistically. The solution is not to give up saving altogether. Using that example, I wrote something down. So when you reach this juncture, you could choose to maybe say bring down your expenses to bring that figure from 2k to 5k. So assuming it can come to 5k per month, then the most likely situation, as I said earlier, is you brought down your expenditure, but now you have to create a new stream of income. So this is just an example. This 5k per month that's geared towards buying the car, it's a bit indirect. You can say that you will put aside the 5k into a unique or into a money market fund, and then save that 5k a month for 6 months, and at 6 months you'll have 30,000 and some change, which would be enough capital to start a certain business that you have heard about. And so let's assume it's a tomato business and then you had already calculated the projected earnings from this business, and after 6 months it would be another 6 months it would be 150,000. So you'll set aside, you decide maybe from the point of starting the business that you'd set aside 60% of that profit to your car, which means that you'll have 90k that you're earning every 6 months going into your car fund. That way you'll be able to buy your car in, I think, under 3 years instead of the 20,000 year model of just setting aside 2k a month. Obviously this is just it's an example with a lot of assumptions, but it's just taking this big savings goal and making sure you've broken it down in terms of what is the goal, what is the amount, and how can I make this savings goal a reality for me. The next step for me after having the sinking fund is to automate my saving. This part might not always be affordable, because like sometimes standing orders like with banks can be expensive. So you want to look at the ways you can automate saving whenever possible. Maybe like with pensions schemes, with employers, they do take it out, I think, automatically before the money comes to you. So that's a good system where you don't see that money and you don't plan for the money in such a way that your brain just moves forward with the money having been allocated to what it needs to go to. So if you can find ways to automate your savings, or just have a system around making sure that if it's every month or every week or every fortnight, whatever it is, you are saving that amount that you want steadily and consistently. I think the last thing, as always, is to track your savings and adjust accordingly. In 2 or 3 years time, you might find that even if you have enough money raised to buy that car, it's no longer a priority for you, and that's okay. If you're keeping up with yourself, with the changes in your priorities, if you're keeping up with how your savings and your investments are growing regularly, then it's a lot simpler to change course, to adjust things accordingly. So for me, those are my key tips when it comes to saving. It's not a destination, but it's definitely a great habit to have, and an important one for financial freedom. I would love to hear from you in the comments how you approach saving. Like, do you have a regular percentage of your income every month that's going into certain things? I just love to hear more about that. So let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember that your hair is your crown and your body is a temple. Embrace it, love it, and take care of it. Bye.